They called her useless, until the one man who had nothing left to lose looked at her and saw everything they didn't. The wagon wheel didn't break slowly. It snapped. The sound cut through the empty land like a gunshot. Clara Bennett didn't react right away. She just stood there, watching the front of the wagon sink into the dust. "Of course," she murmured. "Now." She climbed down, boots pressing into dry earth, kneeling beside the wheel, running her fingers along the split wood. Clean break. No fixing that. She sat back on her heels, looked up at the sky. No town, no road behind her worth returning to. Just land, wide enough to swallow a person whole. Clara stood slowly, turned to what she had left. Books. Always the books. Wrapped tight in worn fabric, carried like they mattered. Because they did. She lifted them first, held them close. Not enough for a life, but enough to begin one. That was what she had told herself, since leaving Red Hollow. Since the school board had sat across from her, polite, careful, and told her she was a problem. Not because she failed, because she refused to choose which children mattered more. Clara exhaled slowly. That life was gone. This one hadn't started yet. That was when she heard them. Not laughter, voices, low, careful. Clara turned, walked around the rise, and saw them. 4 children, still as stone, watching her. Apache. A small herd of goats chewing behind them. One girl with a loose braid. One boy gripping a stick like he had forgotten why. Nobody moved. Then, one goat wandered forward, nosing at her bag. Clara let out a breath. "Well, that one's braver than the rest of you." A boy almost smiled, then swallowed it. Clara didn't step closer. She crouched instead, slow, careful, lowering herself to their height. "I'm not here to steal goats. I don't think I could outrun them anyway." That worked, just enough. The smallest girl tilted her head. "You from town?" Clara hesitated, just a second. "I was, this morning." The words felt strange, like they didn't belong to her yet. "I'm between places." That made sense to them, more than it ever had to adults. Clara reached into her bag, pulled out a small tin. Candy. Nothing special, just sugar. But the children looked at it, like it mattered. "There's a condition," she said. The oldest boy narrowed his eyes. "What condition?" "You have to know a story." That did it. They moved closer. Not all at once, but enough. Clara drew in the dirt, a crooked mountain, and began. About a foolish goat who bragged so much, even a mountain lion got tired of listening. She gave the goat a proud voice, the lion a patient one, and for the first time since she left town, Clara heard laughter that didn't feel forced. Real. Then the shadow fell. That's enough. The voice didn't need to be loud. It stopped everything anyway. The children froze. Clara stood, slowly, turned, and saw him. Ethan Redhawk. Broad shoulders, dust-covered boots, stillness that didn't ask permission. His eyes didn't go to the candy first. They went to the children. Then to her. Goats don't watch themselves. The children scattered, quick, obedient, leaving the 2 of them alone. Silence stretched, tight. "I didn't mean to interfere," Clara said. He glanced toward the road. Your wagon? Yes. It won't carry far. No, she said. I noticed. Something almost changed in his face. Not quite a smile. He stepped closer. That's when she saw it. The limp. Subtle. Carried without complaint. You give things to strangers often? He asked. Only to children. They usually want less. That made him look at her differently, like he hadn't expected that. I'm Clara, she said. Ethan. Nothing more. No extra words. She liked that. More than she should. He looked at the books. You a teacher? I was. I let the wrong children into my school. He didn't react, didn't judge, just accepted it. That's why you're out here? That's why I'm not back there. He studied her, like he was measuring something deeper than words. Town won't like you staying. Town already made that clear. For a moment, the world narrowed. Just dry land, wind, and the space between them. Then he looked away first. I've seen that kind of resolve before. Clara waited. It usually leaves. He turned, walked away, didn't look back. But the children did. The space between them. Then he looked away first. I've seen that kind of resolve before. Clara waited. It usually leaves. He turned, walked away. Didn't look back. But the children did. Two of them glanced over their shoulders, back at her, like something had started. They didn't understand yet. Clara stood there, hands still resting on the candy tin, and for the first time since she left everything behind, she didn't feel invisible. Not completely. The next morning, Clara didn't leave. She could have, packed what little she had, walked back toward the nearest town, started over, again. But she didn't. Instead, she cleared a space, just beyond where the goats grazed, flat ground, enough shade from a crooked tree. Not much, but it was something. Clara set the books down, carefully, like she was placing something important back into the world. Then she waited. No sign, no voices, no children. She exhaled slowly. Of course. People didn't trust quickly. Not here. She sat anyway, opened a book, and began reading aloud. Not for anyone, just in case. Time passed. The sun climbed. The wind shifted. And still no one came. Then a sound. Clara didn't look up, not right away, because she knew if she moved too fast, they would disappear again. Another step, then another. She turned the page, kept reading. And the boy who could not speak. A shadow stretched across the dirt, then another. When she finally looked up, they were there. Two of them this time. The small girl, the quiet boy, standing closer than before, listening. Clara didn't smile, didn't call them over. She just shifted slightly, making space. That was enough. They stepped forward, slow, careful, sat. By midday, there were four again. One brought a stick, another brought a smooth stone, like offerings, like this mattered. Clara changed the lesson. Letters first. Simple. Clear. This is A. It makes a sound. Not perfect, not clean, but real. She didn't correct harshly, didn't rush them. She waited. Let them find it. That was what made them stay. By the third day, they came before she did, sitting in the dust, arguing quietly, waiting. Clara stopped at the edge, just watching. Not invisible anymore. Not here. But not everyone felt the same. From the ridge, Ethan Redhawk watched, still, silent. He didn't interrupt, didn't step closer, just observed. The way they gathered, the way they listened, the way she spoke, like each of them mattered. That was new. Not the teaching, the respect. He had seen schools before, mission ones, town ones. They taught obedience, not belonging. This was different. On the fifth day, he approached. Didn't announce himself. Didn't need to. The children felt it first. Voices dropped, spines straightened. Clara looked up, met his eyes. "You're building something." He said it like it surprised him. "I'm trying." He glanced at the dirt. Letters uneven, marks imperfect. "They keep coming back." "They do." That mattered more than she let on. Ethan crouched, picked up a stick, drew a shape beside the letters. Not English. Apache symbols. The children leaned in immediately. Clara watched, didn't interrupt. "You teach them your way," he said. "I teach them mine." Clara nodded slowly. "They should have both." That was the first time he almost smiled. Most people don't say that. Most people didn't get asked. Something settled between them, not agreement, understanding. That evening, as the children left, one of them turned back. "Tomorrow?" Clara didn't hesitate. Yes. The word felt different this time, like it meant something. From the ridge, Ethan watched her gather the books. Careful, deliberate, like she wasn't building a school, but a place where no one would be told they didn't belong. And for the first time in a long while, he didn't walk away thinking it would fail. He stayed, just a little longer, watching something grow he hadn't expected to believe in. It didn't take long for the town to notice. Things like this didn't stay quiet. Not when children stopped wandering. Not when they started speaking differently. Not when they began choosing where to be. The first sign came in whispers, riders slowing as they passed, eyes lingering too long, men who didn't stop, but didn't look away either. Clara felt it, the shift, the weight of being seen, not kindly. On the seventh day, they came closer. 3 men, town coats, dust still fresh on their boots. They didn't dismount at first, just watched. The children felt it. Voices dropped, bodies stilled. Clara stood, stepped forward. "Can I help you?" The tallest man smiled, not warm, not friendly. "You the one running this?" "I'm teaching." "That what you call it?" His eyes moved past her, to the children, to the dirt, to the symbols. "Looks like trouble." Clara didn't step back. "It looks like learning." The second man snorted. "These ain't your people." There it was, said plainly. "They're children." "That's enough for me." The men exchanged a glance. "That ain't enough for the town." Clara held her ground. "The town doesn't own this land." That landed, not well. The third man finally spoke, quiet. "No, but it owns what happens in it." The meaning was clear. Clara didn't answer, because she understood something now. They weren't here to talk. That was when Ethan appeared. No rush, no warning, just there. The men noticed immediately. Something in their posture changed. Not fear, but calculation. Ethan didn't look at them first. He looked at the children. Go. They didn't hesitate. Gone in seconds. Then he turned. You've seen enough. His voice was quiet, but final. The tall man smiled again. Didn't know this land had a spokesman. It doesn't, but it has limits. That was the difference. Ethan didn't threaten, he stated. The second man shifted in his saddle, uncomfortable now. This ain't over. It doesn't need to be. They held the moment, tension tight as wire. Then they turned, left, but not gone. Not really. That night, the wind carried something different. Not just cold, something sharper. Clara didn't sleep, not fully. She sat near the door, books stacked beside her, like they needed guarding, like they mattered that much. Near midnight, she heard it. Not loud, but wrong. Clara stood, slow, moved to the window, looked out. A shadow near the shed. Then, flame. Small at first, then growing. No. She ran, barefoot, cold ground cutting through her steps. The shed caught fast. Dry wood, old hay, too fast. Clara grabbed a bucket, threw water, again. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Then, another shadow. Ethan, already moving, already breaking the burning wall apart, pulling it down before it spread. Back! She didn't argue, didn't hesitate. She trusted him. Together, they contained it, barely. By the time it died, only half the shed remained. Smoke drifted upward, slow. Clara stood there, hands shaking, not from cold, from understanding. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was a message. Leave. She turned, looked at Ethan. They'll come back. He nodded once. Yes. Silence stretched, heavy. Clara looked at the burned wood, the blackened ground. They don't want me here. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Then, most people don't want things that change what they understand. She looked at him. And you? For a moment, he didn't move, didn't look away. I've seen worse things than a woman teaching children. That wasn't comfort, but it was something stronger. Permission. Clara exhaled slowly. Then she looked back at the land, the place she had started to build, and for the first time, she understood the cost of staying. But she also understood something else. She wasn't the only one standing anymore. The smoke lingered, long after the fire was gone. Clara didn't rebuild the shed. Not yet. She packed instead. Slow. Careful. Books first. Always the books. Wrapped tighter this time, like they were something fragile, like they might not survive another attempt. She worked in silence. No hesitation, no second thoughts. At least, not on the surface. By the time the sun rose, the space under the tree was empty. No marks in the dirt, no letters, no voices. Just land again, like nothing had ever happened. That was the hardest part. Not the fear, the absence. The children came anyway, one by one, stopping at the edge, looking at the empty ground, waiting. Clara didn't step out, didn't call them forward, because she couldn't promise it would be safe. The smallest girl spoke first. "Are we done?" Clara closed her eyes, just for a second. "I don't know." That was the truth. It hung there, heavier than anything she had said before. By midday, they were gone. The space felt larger without them, emptier. Clara lifted the last bundle, tied it closed, ready to move. That was when she heard him. Ethan. He didn't speak right away, just stood there, looking at what was left. "You're leaving," not a question. "Yes." Clara didn't turn. "They burned it once. They'll do worse next time. I won't put them in that position." Ethan stepped closer. "They chose to come. They didn't choose the risk. That's my responsibility." Silence stretched between them, tight. Then he said it. "You're not the problem. They are." Clara let out a breath, shaky. "That doesn't change anything." "It changes everything." That made her turn, finally. "Then tell me how this works," she said. "How do I stay when they'll keep coming back?" Ethan didn't hesitate this time. "You don't stand alone." The words landed hard. Clara shook her head slightly. "You don't owe me that. I'm not doing this for you." That stopped her. "For them," he said. "For this." His eyes moved to the empty ground. "You built something here that didn't exist before. That matters." Clara swallowed hard. "It's not enough." "It is. It just isn't easy." The wind moved between them, cool, steady, like the land was listening. Then Ethan stepped past her, picked up one of the books, turned it over in his hands. "You teach them your way. I'll make sure no one stops you." Clara stared at him. "You can't promise that." "No. But I can stand between you and the ones who try. And that's enough." That was the moment. Not when the fire started, not when the town came, but when leaving stopped being the only safe choice. Clara looked at the bundle in her hands, then at the ground, then at him. And slowly, she untied the rope, set the books back down in the same place, not because it was safe, because it mattered. That afternoon, they came again. More men. No smiles now, no pretense. Clara didn't move, didn't step back. Ethan stood beside her, not in front, not behind. Beside. The tall man spoke first. "Thought we made ourselves clear." Clara met his gaze. "You did. I chose not to leave." That was new. That changed the air. The man's jaw tightened. "You don't get to choose." Ethan shifted slightly. "You're wrong. She does." The moment stretched, tension thick. No one moved. Then something broke. Not in anger, in hesitation. Because this time they weren't facing someone alone, and they knew it. The men exchanged glances, calculating, deciding. Then they turned, left again, but slower this time, less certain. Clara exhaled, didn't realize she'd been holding it. "They'll come back." "Yes, but not the same way. She looked at him. And you'll still be here? Ethan met her gaze, steady. I don't walk away from things that matter. That settled something inside her, deep. Not safety, something stronger. Belonging. And for the first time, she didn't feel like she was borrowing a place in this land. She felt like she had chosen it. And this time, she wasn't leaving. Spring didn't arrive all at once. It crept in. The cold softened, the wind lost its edge, and the land began to breathe again. Clara rebuilt the space under the tree. Not bigger, not stronger. Just steady. Like she understood now, it didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to remain. The children came back slowly. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to fill the silence again. Letters returned to the dirt, stories followed, and something else grew. Something quieter. Confidence. They spoke louder now, sat closer, looked at her like they expected her to stay. And this time, she did. The town didn't change overnight. It never did. Some still watched from a distance, some still whispered, but no one came back with fire. Not after that day. Because something had shifted, not in the land, but in what it allowed. One afternoon, a wagon stopped near the ridge. A man stepped down, hesitated, then walked closer. He didn't speak to Clara first. He watched. The children, the lessons, the way they listened. Then he cleared his throat. My boy, he don't speak much. Clara looked at the child beside him, small, guarded, familiar. He doesn't have to. He just has to stay. The man nodded, slow. That was how it began. Not acceptance, not approval, but something close. Enough. Ethan stood at the edge most days, never in the center, never in the way, just there, watching, making sure nothing crossed the line again. Clara noticed. Of course she did. One evening, as the sun dropped low, she found him near the fence, leaning slightly, weight balanced carefully. The injury never fully left him. He carried it, like he carried everything else. You stayed, Clara said quietly. He didn't look at her right away. I said I would. That's not why. He turned then. Then why? Clara stepped closer. Because you chose to. That mattered, more than anything else. Ethan studied her, like he was measuring something again. But this time, it wasn't doubt. It was understanding. I've seen people try to belong here, he said. Here, he said. They force it. They fight it. And the land pushes them back. Clara waited. He took a breath, slow. You didn't do that. You listened. You stayed anyway. That wasn't praise. It was something deeper. Recognition. Clara looked out across the land, the tree, the children's marks still in the dirt. It doesn't feel like mine. Not completely. Ethan shook his head slightly. It's not supposed to. You don't own this place. You earn your place in it. That settled something. Something she hadn't known was still unsettled. She turned back to him. And have I? He didn't answer right away. Didn't rush it. Then he said it. "You're perfect for this life." The words were simple, but they landed, deeper than anything she had heard before, because no one had ever said that to her. Not in town, not in school, not anywhere. Clara smiled, small, real. Not because she needed to be told, but because, for the first time, she believed it. The sun dipped lower. The land stretched wide. Quiet. Behind them, voices, laughter, children arguing over letters again. Clara glanced back, then forward. No road pulling her away, no place waiting behind her. Just this. And him. Ethan stepped beside her, not leading, not following, just there, like he had been from the start. In a land where she didn't belong, she built something anyway. And in the end, she didn't just stay. She became part of it.